Guys, welcome back. We took a week off to really assess what we wanted to do, what we wanted to give you guys, what people are struggling with, when you're starting to trade, what is the first thing that you're looking at? And today's video is mainly going to be about Forex for beginners, and the subject is going to be emotions. What are the hardest things that it really takes to become successful in trading? It's not your technicals, it's not your strategy. It's not how many monitors that you have, not how many 4 TVs that you have with the stock indexes going around. It is your emotions, plain black and simple. Every trader will tell you that. Without it, even if they don't tell you that, they're lying to you. It's completely truth. It's emotions 100%.
Yep. And before we really get into it, guys, you guys know the drill. If you guys get value out of our channel, please like, comment, subscribe, support our channel. And the video is, something that really hits home to you, and you know people who are in your circle who are dealing with kind of the same type of thing. Please send this to them, because you never know what type of blessing that this could be for, someone who's struggling with something that we're about to go over today. So with that being said, we're just gonna jump right into it. The topic for today is managing emotions. And the first thing that I want to say is this first point that I'm gonna make, I actually learned from Jordan Peterson. He's a famous psychologist, author, and a lot of it has to do with physiology, and I'm gonna ask you guys this right now. Pretty much what he said, and the reason why I want to tell it to you guys is the reason why it's so important is because he said 50% of the people who he treats one-on-one, this right here solves their emotional volatility, their emotional frustrations, pretty much just by managing these two things, and it's sleep and it's nutrition. And you're like, yo, this is a Forex video on, Forex trading for beginners. Why are we talking about this stuff? Well, because if you're experiencing a wide range of emotions when it comes to the charts and you'll just like pop off, then 50-50 shot, it's either in your sleep cycle or it's in your nutrition, and all this stuff is like study backed. But the first point that I want to make is like really go back and analyze what your sleep wake cycle looks like. So what time are you going to bed? What time are you waking up? And when you're doing those things, really sit and figure out, because you actually probably have an app on your phone by now that probably tracks these things, but like, hey, am I going to bed roughly at the same time every single day? And what time am I waking up? Is it in the same window every single day, or am I all over the place? Like 4 a.m. one day, 11 another, 8 another. Like really settle down and be like, okay, what's the duration of time that I'm sleeping? Is it consistent all the time? And is it the same time that I'm going to bed? And is it the same time that I'm waking up? And the second point is nutrition, right? There's like a huge debate on this. I don't really want to get into it, but eat when you wake up, right? Have breakfast, have a nutrient dense breakfast, because most of the time, a lot of people who have like high up and down mood swings, like you might just be hungry, right? You're either like 50-50 shot, you're either sleep deprived or you're hungry, right? And one of the things that I do when I wake up, as part of my morning routine, it's not really a morning routine. I don't really have a very structured one, but I drink water. Okay, I write down my goals, I focus on where I'm going, I pray, and then I eat, right? It's very simple, okay? It's not like this big, crazy, like you have to do 87 steps to become successful.
Can I touch on that?
Yeah.
Touching on Jared's point with nutrition, I could speak from my experience. He told you what he does, and I'll tell you my experience, because I've been at it with my fitness journey a lot. Like I've lost weight from like 2018 to now. I'm completely different. And I kind of know like structure when it comes to waking up, what works for you, what doesn't. It's not a strict set of rules that you're like, okay, well, this is it. This has to work for everybody. It's not the case. Intermittent fasting is not for everybody. If you're trying to lose weight, then you do just a calorie deficit. Some people can't go 12 hours without eating, and there is nothing wrong with that. There's a facade on the internet that you have to be this to get this. The reason why the fitness industry is so popping, and they sell you all these pills, and they sell you all these, like 90-day peach bum workout, this, that, whatever, is because they know that people always want the short-term instant gratification thing. And in trading, you already know that it's all about delayed gratification at the end of the day. So tying that back to like fitness and everything, and waking up, for me, it's ultimately come down to, I eat in like the 3rd to 4th hour of the day, because ultimately I wake up, I can have a Celsius, I can have like a ton of water, and sometimes I have a banana, sometimes I don't, but I eat by 7. And you have to know how to structure your life. Like you have to know how to structure your morning, structure your nutrition at the end of the day. And you're probably still into this, and you're like, why does this relate and everything thus far. You know, have you really ever been at work and then you've been super, super hungry and you're like, bro, I can't even focus on here, bro. I can't even focus on this customer. I can't even deal with this right now. So what makes trading any different? That is a type of work, right? So you have to be physically and emotionally everything all there. So you have to know, you have to create what works for you, and you have to go through a trial period to know what works. You know, what Jared is telling you is great things and everything, but you could go and do your own research to see what actually works for you. Go put it into your life. Does eating in 3 to 4 hours after you wake up make sense? Are you trading in 3 to 4 hours and everything? Are you good without eating? Do you eat exactly when you wake up? What serves you the most? And you're gonna have to test that ultimately at the end of the day.
100%. And to put just like a blanket statement to everything that we're talking about right now is like, trading is volatile, and if you're experiencing a huge fluctuation in emotions, you're gonna want to make sure that your life isn't volatile as well, right? Where it's like you're eating all over the place, you're not eating here, whatever the case is, and your sleep schedule is volatile, right? And that's really just the point that we're trying to drive home. The reason why all these things come together is that the less volatile that you can make your life, you're gonna have a much easier time managing your emotions while you're trading, which is gonna go into my next point. And I'm not getting political with this, I'm just gonna be honest, like, stop watching the news, okay? The news is negative programming. It's not just TV. I'm not calling out certain stations. It's TV, it's certain Instagram feeds, it's Facebook feeds, right? Whatever the case is, whatever the source of it is, so you got to stop looking at it, okay? You can be aware of what's going on in the world. Like, we're very aware of what happens in the world, but it's not overall consuming, right? And I heard this actually a couple of days ago from somebody that I had recently just met, and it's like, if you notice what's on the news at noon versus at 5 p.m. versus at 8 p.m., it's the same stuff, it's just played all day long. So it's just these like negative snippets that are just recycled all over the place. Yeah. And it goes to social media as well, where it's like the same handful of people are probably reposting the same news feed, and you see it when you check your phone at 9, you see it when you check your phone at 12, you see it when you check your phone at 3, and it's like this constant repetition of just bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. And there's literally clinical studies that have proven that this repetition of just negative news all day long can actually create this type of volatility in your emotions, and then therefore your life. Because, I mean, you guys know this, you guys probably heard us talk about this by now, right? Volatile emotions are gonna create volatile actions, right? So it's like everything is gonna start with how you're feeling in your emotions, which is gonna be transferred into how you're acting, what habits you're developing. And it's like, it's gonna make it very, very hard for you to even become profitable if you're just popping off with up and down emotions. So, and I know, like, you guys are probably sitting here like, man, like, this video said Forex for beginners, and I'm really trying to drive this point home. It's like, look, you probably have so many people online right now telling you, yo, you gotta memorize this pattern, right? You gotta take this trade or this signal or this and that. Like, we're being so serious when these things that seem like they're not related to what everything else that you're learning is all about, these are really the things that are gonna help you guys get centered and have control over your emotions when you're going into the market, right? We're not telling you to get rid of them. We're just teaching you how to manage them so that you can actually deploy your trading plan effectively in the market.
Guys, I heard this amazing quote by Oscar Wilde, a famous Irish poet, and it says, I don't want to be at the mercy of my emotions. I want to use them, I want to enjoy them, and I want to ultimately dominate them. And what does that mean, guys? It's like, you can't let anger get to you. You can't let happiness get to you. You know, this even goes back to biblical times. This too shall pass. This anger shall pass. This happiness shall pass. This time of grief shall pass. This time of prosperity shall pass. You know, it's not always sunshine and rainbows at the end of the day. You have to know that emotions come and go. And that's what ties me back to my first practical step to have emotions serve you. And what is that? It's going to be not acting as soon as an emotion hits you, as soon as an intense emotion hits you. Because usually when an emotion is neutral, like in the middle, there's not much action taking. There is very little action taking. Usually it's when it's on the more extreme sides, like anger or happiness, elation, euphoria, whatever the case is, when you feel like very powerful, like I am right now. But, you know, usually you want to take the most action on those type of points. But sometimes you got to know and be very self-aware when to use that. you know, like anger and everything. Obviously, let's use it in trading when you take a loss and everything. I mean, if you're into the game for a while now, you should know that obviously getting angry at the charts is not going to serve you. It's a bunch of bars and everything and colors and everything. If that makes you mad, then man, this is why we're here ultimately. But that used to be us. That used to be Jared and me. And it applies to other situations like businesses and everything. When employees or when people are not meeting your certain standards, it's like, why is this person not thinking like this? I feel like just ripping them a new one. And you're like, wait a minute. You know, sometimes what's really helped me is stopping and reevaluating everything that's happened through the day, like reflecting. It's like, oh, well, I'm not really mad about this anymore. Like this doesn't matter in 5 years. But your emotions could cloud your judgment before like logic comes in. I talked about this in another video. Usually when you're processing everything through your 5 senses, it goes through your spinal cord, through like the area where emotions has to run through first, and then the frontal lobe, which is the logical thinking side of your brain. So ultimately your emotions are going to strike first, but it takes real self-awareness and it takes real discipline to calm down and to be able to be like, I'm going to go reflect. Right. What are my consequences? What are my results from acting on these emotions, from happiness? What happens right now if I jump in this pool out of nowhere with all my clothes on? Okay, well, I don't have any other clothes and I got to drive home super wet. And my car probably is going to stink a little bit because I have water. Did you acknowledge that fact? Sometimes it doesn't matter. Maybe you could find a friend with clothes, out of nowhere. Maybe you could buy new clothes because you're making so much money from trading or something as far. Is what it is. You should always kind of be thinking about the results of what you have and everything thus far. Because sometimes we skip to emotions and then we just let them rule. Like, okay, what's gonna happen if let's say, you know, you have another person at work, right? You know, they just make you mad. You're like, bro, let's say you're the middleman or something thus far. Let's say you're, in my case, let's say, and I'm part-time service advisor and everything, and then I have a mechanic that I gave work to and he's taking way too long and I know he's just being lazy. Like, what's the easy thing? The easy thing is to go up to him and it's like, bro, are you serious? Like, bro, I gave you this work and you're like really like taking forever? Like, and this person's yelling at me, this person's not yelling at you, right? So like, what's going on? You know what? How do I tackle that? Try to do everything that you possibly can and then see if you could have a talk afterwards. See if you can reflect on what's happened afterwards, if it's with other people. But in this case, it's trading in the emotions. And let's go to the second point, which is one of my favorites, and that's journaling your emotions and everything so far. I said that multiple times, and my intention is for you guys to get journaling in the front of your heads. Because I know me, I was aware of journaling, aware, quote unquote, but I didn't do it. Being aware of something is one aspect and doing something is another.
100%.
Because journaling is like, oh, bro, I'll journal when I'm successful and then all the trades will look great. Awesome. Great. Dude, bro, let me ask you something. When you go to a movie, right, you ever seen a superhero movie and you see how they easily could have avoided that problem? Right? Super easy, right? Yeah, but that doesn't sell, right? That doesn't sell. They want to see how the problem keeps like escalating to higher. It's like, bro, they let this guy out the cage. Now this guy's tormenting New York. Like that sells ultimately because
it's always New York.
Yeah, right? Yeah, right. Thank God you moved out, right? But yeah, nothing happens in Miami. Thank God. But think about that, guys. Like, you know, like you get to see it from an objective state of view. That's the same exact way when you journal. It's like almost like reading a book, except you could have it on an Excel. You could write it online or do it, whatever the case is. You're like, oh wow, I took this trade. I risked this much. This was my risk to reward. This was that. And you're like, and when you be really descriptive and you're like, wow, I really felt like that. I really felt like my heart was beating and everything thus far and everything, but I accepted the risk. And you see that you're getting consistent results. He's like, okay, well, I'm doing pretty good right now. It's just like, well, what are some certain things that I'm tweaking? Like Jared says, it's not supposed to be your emotions are supposed to range up, down, crazy. It's supposed to be within very like centimeters of changing. Ultimately, you probably want to be flatline. Although, you know, not flatline in life. You know, it's supposed to be like going up and down in, you know, in life, ultimately higher highs. But you want to be like very minuscule when learning, when growing, and ultimately then it's a straight curve where you don't care. But we're humans. We have emotions. Ultimately, at the end of the day, and things will still happen. But that's why you journal and you realize certain things. And lastly, my point is, it ties in a lot with what Jared's saying, but I want to re-emphasize it. Really, when trading, make sure to be like moving your body, working out, have some type of goal with your physical body, because you really need to challenge yourself. I'm not saying that, you need to cut weight, you need to bulk up. Just have a goal. It's like, I want to feel the best way possible in everything. I want to eat the most nutrient-dense foods, and I want to feel amazing. You may not want to change a thing with your body and everything thus far. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But have a goal with it. Why? When you have a goal, you're striving to get better and everything. Shoot for the stars. Shoot for the moon. You fall on the stars. You still did really good. Ultimately, and when you do those things, trust me, everything in your life kind of like, not to sound cliche, because I've heard it a lot of times, it kind of like things fall into place. Not like you get swole and then your life is greater and then millions of dollars come to you. But, guys, let's be honest here. Like, I have seen people that are very stagnant in life, like that don't go to the gym every day, that don't move their bodies, that don't, eat things that serve them. And I just see some mediocre results. And I want to be straight honest with you guys. And I see some people that don't go to the gym as much, and they just move around and everything, and they have a great attitude. They're moving around. I'm not saying you got to bench 225. The last thing, that's what I'm saying. But if you don't, no, it's just a joke. But look, I mean, you have to find something that's going to serve you within the physical realm. If that's running, if that's serving with using your hands and everything thus far, painting walls, whatever is physical to you, trust me, you will feel better. You will release endorphins. You will feel a better sense of relief to come back. Trust me, because I ultimately got to the point where I trained so much and went to the gym so much that, like, when I don't go for like more than 2 to 3 days, I'm like, bro, I feel off. What's going on here? Because you're so used to releasing endorphins and all those great...
Creates like a positive feeling.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're used to that. So why would you... Ultimately, I want everybody to get to that point, because then you're going to feel it and you're going to be like, wow, I only hold myself at this standard. I will never be at this standard. This is my standard. Because I don't settle for less. I heard it from Ed Milet, and I live by this saying. Some people ultimately don't get their goals at the end of the day. Sometimes they're too big, sometimes they don't believe it and everything thus far, but you ultimately get your standards. You ultimately, I only show up 10 minutes before. If they told me 7, I'll be there at 6:50. This is my standard. I don't care if the other person is loose with it, but guess what? This is my standard, and this is what I hold myself to. I only eat nutrient-dense foods. I'm not going to be snacking on some freaking Pop-Tarts all the time and just be like, this is my standard. I'm not saying... It is what it is. Ultimately, I ate them as a kid, and when you really look back into it in life, and I was like, oh, wow, I technically had a sugary breakfast. So I basically had dessert for breakfast. It's kind of funny what they do with food nowadays. That's why you listen to Jared and eat eggs in the morning. But you want to have the most nutrient-dense foods possible. And then now we're making a supplement company, apparently, because we're talking about more about foods and everything. But guys, to review everything that just went on here, what is it? Practical steps for emotions to serve you. Number 1 is delaying your emotions and being objective to them and reflecting on how you could have done a better job, and see if that emotion still has power in you, because ultimately you give the emotion power. The next thing is moving your body, be very physical and everything, so you can just feel better. Trust me, you guys will get very much benefits from that. Third thing, journal your emotions, because it ties in with the number 1 point. Journal your emotions to just reflect back again, because when you write something down, you have physical proof. It's not like, your head is your brain is a great machine and everything, but ultimately you can't remember everything. Yeah. And you have to be able to write it down.
Can I touch one last point on that, the journaling your emotions too? On top of journaling, when you're writing them down, I really think that you should set a goal for your emotions too. It's like, if you're experiencing a negative emotion, don't just write, man, this felt bad, and just leave it at that. Something that I do when I journal is I always attach a goal that I want to the end of it. Maybe this didn't go my way, but I know it's getting better because I'm going to place X, right? Or to place Y. I hope this makes sense, right? Yeah. Where it's like, oh man, maybe I'm just gonna make an example. I had some anxiety this morning, right? and this is what I'm currently experiencing, but this situation does not define me. This isn't me, and where I'm headed is like a place of total bliss.
Yeah.
Right. So it gives you like a focal point, right? It gives you a destination of this is where I'm going and this is where I'm headed, despite maybe this is what you're feeling. So I hope you guys got some value from that. And yeah, like we said in the beginning of the video, if you got value, like, comment, subscribe, you know, support the channel in whatever way you want to. Send this to your friends, people that you trade with, whatever the case is. So we appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys in next week's video.